Shepard was asking for it for three.
Well, he felt it, didn't he? He was begging.
Oh, what a play by Matt Mitchell.
To Watson, sees a lane, takes it underneath. Montana three. Come on!
This is a clinic. This is Aztec basketball.
Friends, we are back with another episode of the Aztec Breakdown podcast. Hosting tonight, you have me, Austin Bolton. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at It's Austin Bolton. And joining me from our home studio, you have my wife, Carly House Bolton. You can follow her at Car McGee. Before we get started, let's get a little housekeeping out of the way. You can follow Trone and the show at Aztec Breakdown. You can follow Kyle at Call Me Kinslow, and also our good friend Jacob at Aztec Analytics. All right, first real game of the season. The Aztecs won 63-58. Carly, what's your biggest takeaway from the night?
Oh boy, well, we always love starting the season with a win. So we got that business taken care of. I mean, I said last week, that I thought this team was going to be exciting. I just didn't quite say how. So, they made us bite our nails a little in the first half. Great win. I always thought this was going to be a tight game, and so I think that's really my takeaway. Like, this was exactly what I expected to see, with really kind of a snap into rhythm in that second half.
Yeah, you were all over that. When we were driving over to the game, we were talking, I think the spread was like 10 and a half, and we were saying, hey, over, under, and I was like, oh, we played, I thought we played really exciting. I thought it was going to be way over that, and you were spot on. I think you said 8, ended up being 5.
Ended up being 5, except for that guy hit that crazy long 3 with like less than 8 seconds left in the game. So I was almost exactly right.
Just shows, ball.
Well, I try.
All right, so getting a little team stats here. The Aztecs did drop technically in KenPom from 56 to 50. That doesn't mean much. Or they dropped 256 from 50.
Yeah.
And, first game of the season, that doesn't mean anything, but just something to always keep an eye on. The Aztecs shot 44% from the field, 36% from 3, which is good. They had 13 assists on 22 baskets, which is pretty good. But they did have 14 turnovers, so we did have a under 1 to 1 assist to turnover ratio.
Pretty close, though.
Anything from the team stat line that kind of jumps out at you?
One thing that was kind of interesting, and I think John Schaefer touched on this in his post game. UCSD shot 66, almost 67% from 3 in the second half, and the Aztecs looked way better in the second half. So I thought that was really great that they got into both an offensive and defensive better space. To have a team shoot 67% from 3 and to kind of still come out, we won the second half. Technically, the margin grew from halftime. So I think that to me is a good sign.
It didn't feel like they shot 18% from the field in the first half and then 50% from the field in the second half. It didn't feel like that in the game.
No, I mean, I think the low score made the game feel closer because we were kind of going basket for basket. But yeah, that was sloppier than I thought.
All right, let's get into some of the guys. I mean, you can't, going through this segment, you can't not start with Miles Byrd, the only person to play over 30 minutes. He was 7 of 12 from the field. He had 8 rebounds, and he had 20 points total, plus 14. Give me your thoughts on Miles Byrd.
I mean, he showed us who's boss, right? Like, this was Miles' kind of opportunity to step into that leadership role that we expected to see. And, he showed it last week in the exhibition, but the exhibition was about so much more than just, playing the game, and they were trying out different lineups and stuff. And so I loved what I saw from Miles tonight. He was... and we touched on this a little bit before, too. One of his goals to stay calm. That was noticeable here. This was a tight game, even though, many of us felt like it shouldn't have been. And he stayed really cool, played at a really high level.
Yeah, 4 from 8 from 3 is great. And then one thing he mentioned on John Schaefer's wrap-up show was that one of his goals is to be the Defensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West. And that showed, right? Like, he was all over the place. He had 5 steals and 4 blocks, which is unbelievable, and this is his team, right? I think we can confidently say after the first game this is Miles Bird's team.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually just stole my homer with the advocation that he is campaigning to be Defensive Player of the Year, and I was about to get on that train, but I think I did that to you last time.
But, you know, it's just great minds think alike, and you can just really the calmness was really true. There was a point where it was a little tight, you know, they're in the second half of the second half, and he was noticeably calm, just like, all right, let's get into the rhythm, let's get into what we're doing, and he was really a steadying force out there.
Yeah, and at one point, you know, he picked up that third foul, and I think he stayed steady, and he stayed at 3 fouls for the game, and I think that's something that is you know, a mark I'll pay attention to moving forward in the season, because, you know, there's that quick hook with the 2 fouls. He, you know, didn't play a ton in the last few minutes of the first half, and then he was out there and he played, I think, almost the entire second half. So,
and one of the things I love too is that he notably noted that being in these big games in the Sweet 16, the Final Four, and being a part of those teams helped him remain calm there, because when things get tight, you just have to kind of stay the course, do the game plan, and play Aztec basketball, and he was the epitome of that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to BJ Davis, because, you know, this is now a BJ Davis fan podcast. He played 24 minutes. He was 4 of 8 from the field, one for 3 from 3, 11 points, 1 assist, also team high plus 14, tied with Miles Bird. What are we feeling about BJ Davis after game 1 in the real season?
You know, I think, again, like, expectations super high after the UCLA scrimmage, expectations super high after the exhibition game. I think I was eager to see how this would translate, and I'm really happy with what I saw. I mean, he's still young, and he's getting his first really serious game minutes, and so I think he held up to the test. He played defense at a high level. He made plays. He's fast. I was really happy with his game tonight.
I mean, out of all the guys that kind of played their first game ever, which is Magoon, which is Farrell Compton, Tasha Gorville, and then BJ Davis, you know, he got a little bit of time last year, but this is really his first run. There's definitely a step above there, right? Like above those other guys where he, you know, he's ready to step in that role where the other guys are still figuring out their role.
Yeah,
fair.
I think that's fair.
So, I mean, just a lot to like. I mean, all right, I thought of this. I didn't say it when we were watching the game, but what do you like about this nickname, the Lightning Bug, where he's just so fast and he's just out there? Like it? Hate it?
I don't know. I like the lightning part.
All right, we'll keep workshopping.
We can workshop that a little bit.
It. It's all right.
It'll snap into place. I mean, definitely, though, he's really, I think, putting his mark on this team. He's going to be really important to us the whole season.
All right, who's the next guy we should go over?
I think we should talk about Nick. I mean, you know, that was one thing. He actually did play 30 minutes also. He played 33 minutes more than Miles, and that to me was significant because he was on that minutes restriction last game, played 13. So to see him kind of go full speed, sustain that, I thought was really good to see. And, you know, he's great.
First off, reading is hard. The box score is small, so my apologies. He did play 33 minutes. But you're right, though. That's a huge... He definitely had a minutes restriction in that exhibition game. And for the fact that he played 33 of those minutes, he was, again, just the general out there. He was thriving in the Viejas crowd. Thriving. He was pumping the crowd up when they really needed it. And, you know, I think he's just going to really thrive in this setting. And he gives me a lot of Matt Bradley vibes. I love it. He gives a lot of Matt Bradley vibes.
Yeah, I can see that. He's just really shifty with his body. He's, you know, kind of all over the floor. And his shot, you know, the second half was really a much better shooting half for him. I think, you know, he had 2 baskets in the first half. He had the first basket of the game, and I think he had maybe the last basket of the first half. And you could tell he really needed to see that ball go through the net right before halftime. And then I think he played quite a bit better. The whole team seemed more kind of connected and better, you know, in a better headspace in the second half. There was definitely moments in the first half where you could tell UCSD was kind of getting to them. There was definitely some taunting going on. Like,
they got the technical. That was crazy.
Right. I'm like, and that was to me a turning point. I'm like, all right, you guys, we can't let UC San Diego be, you know, talking to us like that, getting in our heads. And so seeing them kind of overcome that and lock in was good.
There was a little bit of Brown vibes in this game. Just for a little bit where it's like, oh, what's happening here?
Well, they have some great players. This was a team that reloaded. They lost a couple of the stars from the team that held us so close last game, but they're a veteran team, and they could win a bunch of games this year. So we'll hope that that's true.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from Nick. I mean, he's the general. I mean, that's I'm going to call him that all season, and he just really steadied the force out there and just really led the group.
I will approve that nickname.
All right.
Pending on the others.
Okay. Well, 1 for 2. Gets you in the Hall of Fame. All right. Anybody else to hear that kind of jumps out to you at the box score, just, what we watched at the game?
I wanted to just shout out Jared Coleman-Jones. I think a really marked improvement from last game where he didn't score. Got his first bucket as an Aztec tonight. He made a free throw, but then immediately next play, I think, hit a 3. And same thing kind of with Nick in the first half. Like, you could tell the man just needed to see the ball go in the basket, and his defense was better tonight. Almost hit that double-double, ended up with 9 points, 9 rebounds, and I just thought that was a really good sign of him settling into the system a little bit. We don't have a lot of veterans on this team, so we need him to be a leader in that way. We need his physicality of, kind of the adult body. Some of these other guys bring that, but they don't have as much experience, getting in the right spaces. And so I was happy to see that.
And you're exactly right. I mean, that shows with the 6 free throws that he got. He was 4 for 6 from the free throw line, and he had 9 rebounds. So that really shows like he was kind of that big guy physicality that the team needed in this game. And I thought he had a really great showing.
He had that one save. He went out of bounds and just kind of like blindly flipped it back in. And I think it went to BJ. And I was like, that is a high effort play. And that is the type of effort that I think is expected from this program. And that was, to me, a really good moment for him.
And he has great hands. I think that showed great hands, which has not always been an aspect of Aztec big guys. And just like that little touch save was a great showing for him. So I love that. And then for me, another guy, just Pharaoh Compton, 14 minutes, 3 for 4 from the field, 6 points, 3 rebounds. I thought the most interesting thing is he was the first big guy off the bench, which is an interesting development. We'll see how much that carries on through the rest of the season, but that guy's a ball of energy, and he is, he's only going to improve as the season goes on, and that guy's an Aztec.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else? Anything else in the box score that we should go over? I know we're trying to stay 30 minutes or less here. So anybody else that you wanted to point out?
The only other person I want to talk about is going to be coming into play in my favorite play of the game, which is I think what we're getting to next.
All right. Kick it off. What was your favorite play of the game?
All right. So for me, my favorite play of the game was what I felt like was a turning point in the second half. Wayne McKinney steals the ball, drives down, gets the layup, fouled and one. And to me, a lot of things happened in that moment. I think what felt to me like a little bit of a sleepy Aztec crowd came fully to life, and Wayne McKinney got his first taste of Viejas Arena.
And he loved it.
And that to me was like, yeah, like you could see him reacting to that. He got fired up, and like that really, from that point on, I felt like the whole crowd was a little bit more into it, a momentum swing, and that was something that I think he will remember in that moment, and it's a kind of really his first big play for this team, and so that was my favorite play of the game. What about you?
My favorite play was definitely when Nick Boyd got in the lane, just a beautiful pocket pass to JCJ, and just with the Thunder's throwdown, that was in that same kind of stretch where the Aztecs really got out ahead and kept the lead from that point in time, and I thought that was just two veteran guys taking control of the game right there and just making a beautiful basketball play.
That had like Lamont to Jaden vibes, didn't it?
It did. But that's the nice thing about this new group is like now they're making their own identity, and those guys running the pick and roll like that, I think is going to be a real asset for this team as we go through the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Honorable mention perhaps to Miles with the steal and the dunk like early in the game. That was when I felt like, okay, we're getting the Miles Bird stamp on the team.
It's funny because with Miles, he only had I think 8 or 9 points in the exhibition. We're like, okay, maybe it'll be more just like putting his stamp all over the place and just having his fingerprints everywhere. But the fact that he had 20, that just makes my heart happy. I love that.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to see. And it's funny, like the reason I think neither of us picked that specific play as our play of the game is because I feel like he's good for one of those pretty much every game. And so I always love it. And also it's one of those things that has become a bit of a signature for him.
All right. We're cruising along here. We're moving on to Homer and Hater. If you're new here, these are just, a Homer is an irrational take on the positive side, and a Hater is an irrational take on the not so positive side. Carly, give me your Homer.
I want you to go first.
Oh, okay.
I remember my Homer was stolen by you already, so I'm still kind of formulating my plan.
All right. My Homer is, this team is Block City, San Diego State Block City. They had 8 blocks. As I said in the first game recap of the year, I think this team is going to break an Aztec all-time record in blocks. And we're off to a great start. They had 8. Miles had 4, Magoon had 3, and then Taj DeGorville had 1. I think this team plays with a lot of length, even with their smaller guys. Obviously, Miles and Magoon isn't, but, BJ Davis is an excellent rebounder. He had 4 rebounds on the night. But going back to the blocks, having 8 to start, and, with Magoon, he could have had 6 or 7, but some of the UCSD guys made some real business decisions, especially in the first half when they got kind of in the paint, noticed that he was there, and just decided, I'm gonna back out here.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
And the other thing that I thought that was interesting that comes with the blocks is when it comes to weak side defense, Magoon was playing down in the paint where he was guarding the guy in the corner, where they were making sure his presence was always felt. And then if they did swing over to the weak side corner, he was able to fly out at him with all of his length. And I don't think those guys really made I don't think they made a 3 over him because they're allowing that space to be made up by his length, so he's able to kind of sit in the paint the whole time, even if another team tries to play 5 out on us.
Yeah, I think that's some of the really good stuff we're seeing from there. And also, I think it's starting to, you talked about this a couple times when we were watching the game live, but peaks of what the identity of this team could become. And I think we're still trying to see what that's going to look like. But there's some really interesting stuff happening.
All right. So, Carly, give me your Homer.
So I'm going to pivot a little, and I'm going to go back to that team individual player accolade kind of vibe with what Miles is trying to do. So my original one was going to be, let's get on the train for Miles for Defensive Player of the Year. But how about I pivot and say, campaign for Nick Boyd as Newcomer of the Year?
I love it. John Rothstein was giving him props on the internet right after that game ended.
I was trying to quickly Google. I can't remember who got that in Mountain West Media Days, but the guy certainly has a lane for that. And so if he continues to settle in as quickly as he is, and we talked about that a little bit last time, how, compared to some of the other transfers in the past, he seems to be kind of immediately impactful, immediately gelling and meshing with the system and taking leadership over this team. I think there's a path there for him for that, for sure.
Yeah. All right. What about Hater? What do you got for a Hater?
So my Hater, again, qualify. I don't like Banner Night. It's fun. I get it. We're celebrating, but there's this thing about it where I feel like there's a bit of a distraction. We're looking in the past. A lot of the guys that were on the team that played in the Sweet 16 graduated or transferred. And it just always feels like one of those games that's a little shifty. And I think our first half performance played to that. So if I have to hate something, I'm going to hate Banner Night. I want to keep winning banners. And this is just, I think, part of the ecosystem of what it is to kick off a season, have a little bit of pressure, have a little bit of noise.
I mean, that's a thing everywhere. Even on ring night in the NBA, when they have the big 30-minute ceremony and everybody gets their rings, they always start out flat. And that's what the Aztecs did. That's what the Aztecs did here tonight.
Can I just say, I hope we never, ever, ever clinch a regular season conference championship and raise that banner before the season's over. I don't ever want that to happen again.
Never again. Just too much PTSD there.
Oh,
for all of you, I'm sure we've shared this story before, but we were still living in Boston. The Aztecs, I believe, were 27-0. They raised the banner, and the one game we went to that year, they lost, and they raised the banner that night. So they can never do it again. I just, that's my own personal preference.
So you just gave more context as to why I truly can be a hater of Banner Night.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
All right. What about you? What's your hater?
My hater is just that this team, although the offense and the fast pace and the exhibition look great, is going to grind people out, especially in the beginning of the season. Like, the defense looked great. Obviously, they held them to 18% in the first half, and they didn't even really get their rhythm until they played Jared Coleman-Jones at the small ball 5 and Magoon was on the bench. Granted, he had a cramp, some kind of, something where he definitely wasn't right in his, I think, right leg. But this team it's going to be tough to find their identity. And I think this is my takeaway, and I don't know if I said it at the top, is that their best offensive lineup was definitely kind of the 4 guards and then Jared Coleman-Jones. And so they're going to want Magoon in for that rim protection. And when they weren't finding their spacing and still kind of finding their way together in the first half, it's going to be a slog, and they're going to grind people out with their defense, and especially until they kind of find their offensive rhythm.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think we talked about it a little bit on the way to the car. Like, you think about the Gonzaga team that we're going to be facing in a few weeks, and you think about someone as, raw as Magoon playing against somebody like Graham Ike, who's got to be like a 7-year senior at this point. And so there's definitely some runway there to think about, like, what is a lineup that's going to be more effective against a team like that. And so
they're definitely going to try their lineups that they feel like have the best talent and the guys that are kind of ready to take that spot. But especially early in the season against these hard teams, they're going to rely on the experience. I mean, Wayne McKinney was in there at the end of the game. Just another guy that played great defense. And they're just going to rely on that experience, especially early. And so, they're going to find their rhythm. And this team is athletic enough, and they're going to get enough steals and blocks to get out on the run. But if a team tries to take the air out of the ball, there's just going to be some grindiness to some of these games, especially on the offensive side.
Which I think, as Aztec fans, we're a little used to that style of play, which is good. I think too, Dutch mentioned this after the exhibition game too, and just like, what is the jump from that high school or redshirt season to like real game action? And so while, these guys are obviously all in phenomenal shape, there is some conditioning, I think, to be had about playing at game speed. So I think that could actually be playing into this early run for Taj and Pharaoh getting 13 and 14 minutes respectively to try to get them in that game shape. Magoon had 22 minutes again. I think that's what he had in the exhibition. And so some of that is going to be about getting their legs and being able to kind of sustain the level of play that's going to be necessary in this early and really tough stretch of our schedule.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've learned from football season this year that was shared with me is the biggest jump for a player isn't college to the pros. It's actually high school to college. And so getting Magoon Gwath, getting Taja Gorville and Farrell Compton kind of ready for that physicality and just the endurance that takes, I think that's a big reason why BJ Davis is kind of a couple steps ahead of them, because he was practicing with them last year. And Magoon was too, but he was hurt. Didn't kind of get there until December and was, kind of scout teaming a little more, whereas BJ Davis, could have gotten minutes if they really, really, really needed it. And they're just going to have to ease those guys in because the jump from high school to college is a bigger leap just from the competition that you're playing than even, going from D1 to the pros.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I'm going to throw one at you. This one's not on the rundown, but I'm going to throw it at you. What did you think of Viejas, and how ready are we for Gonzaga from a crowd standpoint?
Oh, interesting. I thought it was a great crowd for a Wednesday night. Obviously, home opener. I think that's always a draw. There was definitely some UCSD fans in the building.
Little late trickle.
Per usual, 7:00 game. It's just something about it. We can't get butts in seats. Banner night. I think that's a little bit of a draw. Although last year we had the Final Four banner and like a giveaway, so that was probably garnered a bit of a bigger crowd. I think Viejas will be very full for that game because San Diego is one of those towns that's going to show up for the name brand. So the fact that we're playing Gonzaga, even if it's a Monday night, I think we'll probably sell that game out if it's not already sold out.
Oh, that'd be 100%.
What I hope to see is more of that second half energy. That team's going to need the Viejas home court advantage really at play here for this. I think that's part of the if there is to be a way to upset this team, the crowd's going to have to play in.
I mean, if it doesn't show, someone was telling me that our section was going for several $100s on the resale market.
Oh,
if it gives it any idea of what the Gonzaga game's going to be like, I definitely thought it took us a little bit to find our throat of just like finding our voice during that game. But when it was down to kind of winning time, Viejas found its voice, and this team is going to get out on the break enough this season where if we do get like a 10 or 12 point run that's based off steals and blocks and, you know, dunks and threes from that, there are going to be multiple games this season where we blow the roof off of it.
Yeah, I love it.
Which I think last season there was a lot of and we didn't really break through a ton because of the style that we played going to Jaden in the block. The style that these guys play when they're really rolling and having their blocks and their steals lead to fast break points, they're going to blow the roof off of that place a lot more this season, I feel like.
Exciting basketball, right? Somebody might say.
Aztec Fast. Is it a little Aztec Fast?
That's true. True.
All right.
I like it.
All right. So that's kind of what we got for basketball. Just want to throw it out there. Friday night, New Mexico at home. This team can still make a bowl game. We're 3-5. Got to go 3-1 to hit a bowl game, but 3 or 4 of those games are super duper winnable. New Mexico was just in a shootout against Wyoming, who the Aztecs beat in Laramie. Carly, tell us why the Aztec faithful should show up to Snapdragon Friday night against New Mexico.
Well, firstly, Friday Night Lights, right? I don't know. Football feels like a good vibe. Hopefully the field's in a little bit better conditions. Had 2 weeks now to heal and no soccer played on it. So we'll see if they can have a better showing. If you're a basketball season ticket holder, my understanding was that there were some free tickets offered. I think those are still available if you haven't claimed yours. It's for basketball season ticket holders who are not current football season ticket holders. So try to get some new butts and seats. Like, take advantage of free tickets, man. We love free stuff.
And Snapdragon is a great place to watch a football game. It really is. There's a ton of cool stuff there. Come check it out. Military Appreciation Night. First 10,000 fans get a t-shirt. Come check out the team. I think it's going to be a really good game. And I think after what happened against Boise, which was bad. I don't think anybody would disagree, although I think Boise is a top 8 team with the Heisman frontrunner. This team is going to be ready to play, and they know it's at stake, and they can get to a bowl game, and I think we're going to see the Aztecs put their best foot forward.
Yeah, there's some interesting storylines here at play, too, right? Trey White still leads the nation in sacks. There's a Aztec transfer player or 2, I think, on the New Mexico team. So I think it'll be exciting. We went to the women's basketball game on Monday night.
They look great.
That was great. So we're just trying to do, every other day Aztecs.
That's why we moved back, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
All right. And then as I said before, with what's going on with the house settlement, until that's kind of figured out, just make sure you're supporting how you can. Thank you to everybody that is supporting. Mesa, very cool Aztecs in the Pro segment during Viejas, at Viejas. Check it out, Aztec Link, check out We Believe Network. Novo's doing a great deal with the Aztec guys, the Aztec men's basketball players this year. Support the companies and the businesses that are supporting your favorite San Diego State athletes, because that return on investment is important, so they continue to do deals. But, it's just the ecosystem that we live in. And I'm going to keep pressing it. I'm going to keep evangelicizing it. I said that wrong, but...
evangelizing.
Sorry, it's late. We're trying to get this done before our friends get here this weekend. Speaking is tough.
I will say, if you follow the Aztec Link social media, you may have seen a sneak peek earlier this week, though, about something that I'm very excited about in this NIL space, and that is there's some stuff to come down the pike from softball. And I'm a big fan of our San Diego State softball team. Their season starts in the winter, but keep your eyes peeled if you're into softball. If you're not into softball yet, we're going to have some good stuff for you.
Awesome. Anything else before we get going?
No. Let's go Aztecs, get out and support the football team. We got a couple quick games next week. So we have Monday night women play again, and men play Tuesday night against Occidental. So we'll see you there.
Yeah, and just, thanks for bearing with us. We're doing this right after the game. As I said, we got some stuff going on, but we wanted to make sure we got our recap pod out. So as always, thank you so much for listening to the Aztec Breakdown podcast. Follow the show at Aztec Breakdown. You can follow me at It's Austin Bolton, and you can follow Carly at Car McGee. But until next time, go Aztecs.
Let's go Aztecs.
On the floor, it's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up, and he wins it with the jumper.
System's feeling it. Now he's feeling it even more. What it do, Matt Mitchell. Shackle with Flynn for the win.
And a steal. Darion Trammell will coast in for the layup.
Franklin with 2 seconds, forces the shot. It's good. The Aztecs advance. They've won it on the shot by the player of the year.
Miller, he put it behind his back. It's taken away by Butler. Lob it up. Lob it down. Big finish. Keyshawn Johnson.
Now we have tasted it. We're coming back. We're coming back.